What is happening, people? And welcome back to Park Lane Podcast, episode number 3. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for joining us once again. My name's Luke. Dave's not here this week. Let us down once again, but don't panic because I've got an extra special guest with me. Winnie, how you doing, mate? All right.
I'm all good, mate. Fantastic. Happy to be on here. To be honest, it's looking forward to just chatting crap about Spurs.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. So for those of you that don't know, Rivalry Aside TV has rebranded. So now we're Park Lane Podcast. We're focusing solely on Tottenham Hotspur. And we're getting Tottenham fans on every week and just going to chat all things Spurs. Before we get into the show, do not forget to like the channel. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button if you like it. If you don't like it, hit the subscribe button anyway. Because to be honest, all your subscriptions really do help. It's free to do so and really does help the channel grow. So yeah, thank you very much for joining in and let's get cracking. So really, let's talk about Nottingham Forest. So
yes.
It's hard to think, actually, isn't it? It was only a week ago. But, it was one of those games where before the game, you would expect a win. Minus the fact that Nottingham Forest have signed 23 players now.
That is honestly, that is so baffling. I don't understand why they're doing it, but I mean, each to their own. It's a baffling concept, but they're going to have about 3 teams to field.
For anybody like me who in their spare time, when they get spare time, likes to play a bit of Football Manager.
That's
Rule
me.
number 1 of Football Manager is don't sign too many players.
No.
It's hard to keep them to gel together. But anyway, let's move on to Spurs. So a game where we think we should win the game. And we did win 2-0.
Yeah.
It wasn't as convincing as you would really have expected, was it?
No, not at all. For me, I mean, obviously, I watched the game and it's always like a cagey affair playing against a newly promoted team so early in the season, especially away from home as well. The crowd against you and stuff. But it wasn't a typical Spurs performance. But all things aside, I mean, the result is the most important thing, isn't it? Especially. But yeah, performance a little bit disappointing. But I think there's a lot of things to work on, and I think that's been kind of the same throughout all of our performances this season, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely. Let's look at Spurs as a whole, and we're still unbeaten this season.
Yeah, exactly.
We haven't gone 5 wins like, the scum have. But
no.
If you look at Spurs, we have a reasonably big squad now. Yeah. We have depth in different positions.
Yeah, and which we haven't had, really.
Exactly.
For me as a Spurs fan, I've never really witnessed a squad with this much depth anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's always one of those tricky things, I think, being a Spurs fan, isn't it? Do we get annoyed because we're not battering Nottingham Forest 4-5-6-0? Or do we say, do you know what? A win against Nottingham Forest is a win. A win against any team is a win. And, let's look at some of the games that we've played. We have already played Chelsea this season. Didn't get beaten by them, which is good. And, we're still unbeaten in the league. So what are your give me your thoughts on kind of the game as a whole against Forest and also the impact that Richarlison had? Massive
impact. I think I absolutely love Richarlison. I always did when he was an Everton player. I just love, the shithousery. You can't not love it, can you? Come on, it's amazing. The game as a whole, like I say, I was a bit disappointed, but this is what the strength in depth. So let's say last season, if we were struggling. If we were 0-0, 1-1, we're drawing the game. 70 minutes in, we're looking for an impact from the bench. No disrespect to him. I love Lucas Moura, but we've got people like Lucas Moura. We had Steven Bergwijn. We had people like that to come on. Richarlison just adds a completely different element to it. He can come on and he can make a difference. And he's shown that against Chelsea, and he's obviously shown it against Forest as well. Came on. What an assist for Kane as well, outside of the boot. Incredible.
Mate, outrageous, wasn't it? Do you know what? And he's one of those players where I know a lot of Liverpool fans and also know a lot of Arsenal fans, annoyingly. But a lot of Liverpool fans hate him because he played for Everton, right? And he was an absolute shithouse against them. Yeah. But if you look at some of the players now we have in our team, with Christian Romero, the impact that he had against Chelsea. Player. Exactly. And then you look at Richarlison and you look at that shithousery that's running through our squad now and even towards our manager, Antonio Conte, as well. What I think he wants from this Spurs team is not only a team that can win games, but a team that can absolutely destroy mentally the opposition.
It's typical Conte, isn't it? And we haven't had a manager like him, I don't think. We've always got nice managers, Pochettino, Harry Redknapp, all nice. They want to generate like a nice atmosphere in the squad, whereas Conte just wants to shake it up completely, and he wants to just create a complete shithouse. And I'm all for it, mate. I am all for it, I'll tell you.
I absolutely love it. And do you know what I absolutely love is him on Twitter as well.
Yeah,
just absolutely ripping into everyone.
Yeah,
because
you can't beat it.
Exactly. And let's talk about that moment that caused a controversy on the Twitter sphere.
Yeah.
Him doing keepy up and then getting absolutely smashed. Like when he first joined Spurs, like a lot of people, I was on some different podcasts. Like shout out to the LFC Day Trippers who have me on. Should be on next week actually. A really big channel, and they like to discuss everything. But a lot of them said to me like, "Why are you spending 60 mil on a player who doesn't get into your starting 11?" And for me, it's not only about the goals that he's going to score. I think he scores maybe 10 goals this season, right? Which I think is a good contribution along with like Son, Kane, and Kulusevski.
Definitely.
But what I love about him and what I think his impact will be is more going to be winning those fouls high up the pitch, getting us possession late on in places that we need it, and also coming up with those outrageous assists that that we also want. So yeah, it was lovely to see, and I love the outrage all over Twitter. But what's your thoughts on it?
Mate, I absolutely love it. It's something. It's something I would do if I was a footballer. I would be doing this. There's no harm in it. I don't see the harm in it. It's just doing a couple of kick-ups. Yeah, it's a little bit of showboating, but if your team's winning, why not showboat? Do you know what I mean? If you can do it, why not? I kind of understand the disrespect element of it, but I don't think it could be worse. He could be running to the crowd and swearing at the crowd. He's just doing a couple of kick-ups. Do you know what I mean? It's nothing.
Yeah, and what's the difference between that and Neymar doing rainbow flicks over the head of the opposition, or Ronaldo doing 20 step overs? Like in my opinion, it really makes no difference. Like Ronaldo doing all those step overs, or going back to Spurs days, Al Tarabt as well. Like those players who can have that skill in their locker. What's wrong with them showing it on the pitch? Like, yes, as you say, a bit of showboating, but he's not doing anything wrong. No. And in fact, the opposition, and even the opposition managers of some teams that have come out and said what they've said, what I hated more, and we'll move on to this in a minute, because we've actually got James from Spurs Related who's going to join us as well. Yeah. But what I hated more was the fact that David Moyes, right, is an absolute rat.
Yeah.
He had more to say about Richarlison doing 3 or 4 keepy-ups than he did of his own player booting a cat.
That honestly, that is what baffles me the most. Like there's much bigger things going on in football, like you say, the Zuma situation and stuff like that. Just talk about that. Like there's much bigger things to worry about than a professional footballer doing 3 kick-ups. Do you know what I mean? That's you spot on with that, yeah. And what I would like to know is if it was let's say if it was Kulusevski that did it, would there be this much talk about it? I don't think it'd be mentioned.
No, I really don't. That's a hell of a shout, actually. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because any footballer can do kick-ups. If it was Harry Kane, rival fans don't like Harry Kane for whatever reason because he's the best striker in the world, obviously. But if it was Kulusevski doing the kick-ups, I don't think anything would be said. It's just because of who it was.
I completely agree. James, how are you doing, mate? All right.
Yeah, all good. Thanks for getting me on. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Thanks for joining us. So, James, how's everything with you? All good?
Yeah, all good, mate. Just looking forward to the game today. Been busy doing various different things, but excited to talk about Tottenham with you guys.
Amazing. Really, really glad to have you on. So we were just quickly talking about, I'm sure you can hear backstage, but we were talking about the Nottingham Forest game really quickly and Richarlison. What are your thoughts kind of like on the whole situation?
Oh, mate, I've been loving it. I've been absolutely drinking it in on social media every day. It's been brilliant. There's been another little twist in the tale at the start of the week. Neymar replying to Richarlison's tweet from Didi Hamann. Absolutely fantastic. Getting the world superstars involved as well. It's just fantastic. And he replied to one guy with an actual meme with quoting himself. I mean, what a legend. And then the keepy-ups itself. I know what you were saying. I think Winnie was saying it's not too bad. It's just a few keepy-ups. I mean, if you can't enjoy this sport like for what it is and people just, being different. Like Neymar does it as well, and people absolutely adore Neymar, or some people hate it. I think it's Richarlison. You love him or you hate him, and I'm starting to absolutely love him already within about 3 weeks. So,
I completely agree. Let's move on to the title of the show, and that was a disappointing draw against West Ham. Like, one of the things I want to mention before we kind of go around the table, and we'll go to you, James, first. Like, after the game, Joe Cole, right? Bear in mind, Joe Cole's played for what, Chelsea and West Ham, so not an ideal pundit to have on and talk about it. He said Spurs will be absolutely delighted that they came away with this game with a draw. Like, in my opinion, they had one chance from a foul throw and they scored. Spurs mistake, I'll put that in. But there's no way anyone as a Spurs fan can be happy getting away from Olympic Stadium with a 1-1 draw, James.
I mean, listen, I get what he's saying to an extent because we were awful. Let's not get things wrong. We played so badly, and there was sparks where we played well, and it was a good bit of play. I don't know if you guys saw it on the repeat. It's like Perisic played a great ball to Kane on the halfway line. He half volleyed it all the way to Son, and then Son kind of went to go onto it and headed it way too too hard.
Yeah.
And it went. So that would have been an incredible game. We would have been chatting about that for many months. But in terms of the game overall, we were shocking. Like, let's not be honest. We've played bad since the Southampton game. We've been awful. Played bad against Chelsea. Got a draw. Played bad against Nottingham Forest. We got away with it. We won 2-0. But okay, it's not ideal at the moment. And I think obviously Fulham today, we could probably get away with playing bad again and somehow scrape a result. But when we start playing the likes of Man City and Liverpool, we're going to start getting found out because we really aren't playing well. So in terms of what you're saying, Joe Cole, I get what he's saying. And yes, West Ham had one shot. But if you look what we did with the ball, we were pretty poor. Like, we were, and we did get unlucky with the decisions, it's got to be said. Like, I mean, that was a handball. I can't believe VAR looked at the one replay where it looked like it hit his head. And they looked at 4 other ones and it definitely hit his arm. So again, VAR decision.
It was the amount of time, sorry, James, I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, don't worry.
It was the amount of times they showed that one replay. Like, I reckon they must have repeated it 25 times. It just went on and on and on.
But Luke, they repeated that one 20 times. But notice that they didn't repeat the one where it looked like it definitely hit his hand, which was 3 different angles. But they focused only on the one that favoured the home team. It's absolutely disgraceful. But without me going off on one, because I already got over that. There was another part where they did a foul throw as well. I tweeted it out there.
Goal.
Yeah. You can't throw it like that and let go of the ball there. You have to do it behind your head. Like, everyone knows that from grassroots level. And somehow the referee wasn't watching the game when that happened as well. I mean, so when you look at it like that, Joe Cole's talking rubbish. But also, from a Spurs point of view, I'm not happy with how we're playing at the moment. I think we're playing very, very poor. I don't see much of an improvement. I actually think we're playing worse than the end of last season at the moment. But I don't know what you guys think. I'll switch over to you guys. But I'm personally taking the draw just because I was so frustrated with how we played.
Yeah, definitely. Winnie, it'd be good to get your thoughts on it, because the thing that really frustrated me in the whole game was the passing from Lloris to Sanchez to Lloris. He was under pressure, booted it, or tried to play a poor ball to Dyer or something like that. Like, at some point, we saw it last season. At some point, Lloris has to just think, do you know what? This isn't working. Let's go long with the ball. Or it's little chip balls out to Emerson on the right-hand side, who then doesn't control it properly, and then we're under pressure again. That tactic, like, at some point it has to change. And for me, in that West Ham game, Conte left it far too late to make any changes. And as far as I can remember, he didn't really make many, apart from the only one that I can really remember is obviously Richarlison for Kulusevski, when in my opinion should have been Richarlison for Son.
Yes, no other subs.
No, that was the problem. It was just we have got this fantastic depth at the minute that we're not really used to as a Spurs fan. But for one reason or another, against West Ham we didn't have that depth. We had one attacking player to bring on, and that was the issue. I think Conte, as much as I love him, the one thing I dislike is he waits so long to make a sub, when as a fan you're sitting there watching it. Let's say 50, 55 minutes, you're looking and you're going, we need to make a change here. And he, for some reason, he just seems to wait until the 75th, 80th minute. And at that point, sometimes it can be too late. But what you alluded to, Luke, with Lloris to Sanchez back to Lloris, that tactic, I think it just highlights how much we miss Romero. He links up the play so well, like that little ball to Romero, and he'll find that little pocket of space and, ping a ball straight up into Harry Kane's feet, and we start the attack from there. And I think that, Romero's absence has been huge, and I think hopefully he's back in the squad today. Hopefully he's back in the starting 11.
Yeah, definitely, and especially against a side that had scored one goal.
Yeah,
You know what I mean, like
exactly.
one goal up into the first 4 games, I think it was.
I'd like to see Lenglet in there, if I'm honest. We haven't seen enough of him. And the game that I have seen, he's very similar to Romero. He's not as aggressive as Romero, but on the ball, he can be that link from Lloris, Lenglet back into the midfield. I don't know
who
what
would you drop? Would you drop Ben Davies?
See, this is the thing. Ben Davies, I think, transforming him from a left back to a left centre back, absolute genius move. He plays there for Wales, and I think that's probably his best position. But on the ball, I don't think he's as good as what we've got. So it depends. If we have Romero, if Romero's fit, I'd get Romero, Dyer, and Davies. I'd keep it as it is. But if Romero isn't ready, I would like to see Lenglet come in for Davies personally.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Do you know what would be nice to see? Even against a game like today, right?
Yeah.
On paper, Spurs should be beating Fulham, right?
Yes.
Obviously, I'm going to use the old cliche, but form goes out of the window. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we look at it in black and white. Spurs should beat Fulham. It's as simple as that. And as you say, why not? Why not look at that as an option, even as a Romero, Dyer, Lenglet? Give it 60 minutes, see what happens. The thing that annoys me about Antonio Conte, and you mentioned it, Winnie, was that, and before anyone gets on my case, I'm not having a go at Conte, I love Conte, but we're here to debate it all, right? And so the thing that annoys me about Conte is that this season we've got 5 subs, right?
Yeah,
we
exactly.
can make 5 subs, but he makes 1 in a game where we need something because we're not, we're not providing enough. Do you know what the biggest miss though, James, probably was for me was Bentancur in the middle. With him not in, I think it definitely changed the game. It lost us that solidity in midfield. Do you think Højbjerg, Bissouma? Do you think Bissouma, Bentancur? Do you think Højbjerg, Bentancur? Skip could be in there as well. What do you think our best kind of 2 in the middle would be?
Do you know what? I've debated this a lot on my channel. I think that Bissouma, just very quickly, was very poor on Wednesday. He probably had his worst debut he could possibly ask for. And listen, at the end of the day, the guy's human. We're not expecting him to hit the ground running straight away, although some fans think everyone's going to be perfect when they come in. But I thought Højbjerg and Bissouma would have been really good on Wednesday because they're 2 workhorses. They're quite similar, although Bissouma likes to get forward a little bit more. We know Højbjerg likes to get forward more for Denmark. However, Højbjerg and Bissouma, I think, is the best balance in terms of a game like that because Bissouma gets he's almost like a box to box. He's almost like a Moussa Dembele back in the day where you sort of get forward. He makes these runs, beautiful passing. And then Højbjerg's just that Wanyama, that rock. That's what I compare it to. But Bentancur, I like him, but I think he's too much like Højbjerg. And then Bissouma, it needs to be there for that balance where we have someone go forward and 1 come back. Because if we're not playing a number 10, we're just isolating the 3 up top. So I feel like if you have Bissouma, it's like a fluid sort of 5-2-3, but it's almost like a 5-1-1-3 at times because Bissouma goes forward. You see what I mean? So I originally was saying I think the best 2 would be Bissouma and Bentancur, but I like Højbjerg. I like his tenacity. I like his work rate. I think he gets so much hate. I put it out on my Twitter the other day, and a lot of people agreed with me. I said, why does Højbjerg get so much hate? He puts 100% in for Tottenham, and there is some players in our 11 that just go missing some games, and we all know who they are. But Højbjerg, although he can have a stinker, when he has a great performance, everyone's praising Kane, Son, and Kulusevski because we score goals. No one ever sits there and go, actually, Højbjerg just let the front 3 do their stuff. There was no, there was a lot of protection on the back line. We never hear that. And I think that's complete disrespect because Højbjerg runs and runs and runs. And yes, you might turn around and go, well, he's a professional footballer. He's meant to do that. But let's think about some of the absolute howlers in midfield we've had over the years that don't run. You know what I mean? So people are quick to say, oh, I don't like Højbjerg, he can't pass. But when he does put some absolute pings in, or when he does completely control the midfield, we never hear about it. And I think that's complete and utter rubbish. But I don't know what you guys think anyway on that one.
Yeah, Winnie, what's your thoughts on that midfield pairing?
I'm a massive fan of Skip. It's not controversial because obviously I know coming through the academy, a lot of Spurs fans like Skip. Similar to James, I think Bentancur and Basuma was going to be my pairing. But again, like he alluded to, Højbjerg, you can't shy away from the fact that, I mean, there was a famous quote where he said, "I may not be the best footballer, along the lines of this. I may not be the best footballer, but I will always give 100%." And that in itself is worth its weight in gold because, like you say, you don't get many players like that these days. And like I say, I think we really did miss Bentancur. I think Bentancur has to be the first name on the sheet in terms of the midfield. Who we pair with him, I think it's a little bit difficult. For me, like I say, I would like Bentancur and I would like to see Højbjerg in there as a 2. Keep it simple. What we were doing last season, it worked last season. Let's just keep going until it doesn't work. And like you say, we haven't been very convincing this season. But the results are still there, so something must be working.
Yeah, definitely. This is an important point, actually, from Dave. Shout out to Dave, who should be back on the show next week. David said, disagree, Bentancur brings so much more to our game with his passing between the lines, was evident against West Ham when he was missing. But this point is even more crucial, right? Højbjerg spent too long trying to be a Viking when he was clearly injured against West Ham. Now, that was what I was going to get to next, was Conte's thinking that we have an injured Skip who probably can't come on and dictate a game, right? We've got Bentancur who has got concussion, and we've got an injured Højbjerg who clearly looked injured on the pitch, right? Twice I think I saw him signal go to the bench. At one point I think he just changed his boots. But James, what's your thoughts about him being left on the pitch rather than bringing somebody else on? Clearly, he looked like he had some form of knock.
Yeah, I think at one point he had broken his boot, and that's why, like you said, he changed his boot. But I to be fair, like you're right, he did get battered a bit, and he probably did have a little bit of a knock. But then, like you said, you kind of answered it yourself. Like you look at the bench, Skip wasn't 100% fit. He's been out for many months. But Bentancur wasn't even obviously available. And then you think back and you think, well, Conte came out with a little bit of a dig after the game. I don't know if you guys saw. He said, like, our squad is still basically well off Man City and Liverpool. And you sit there and you think, we're having this debate, and Liverpool just bang on, Thiago if he's not playing, or Harvey Elliott, or Fabinho, depending on which one's not playing, Henderson.
Or even Carvalho.
Exactly, like 5-6 centre mids that you can trust, right? We're sitting there and going, well, do we bring on a Skip that's like not 100% fit, or maybe we look to one of the academy boys? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, without me going off on one, 150 million war chest, right? Have we solved all our problems? Do you sit there and look at our squad and go, yeah, actually, we've got a position in every position. We've got someone that can back it up. And if someone else is injured, we've even got another one. No, we haven't. We're on scraps. And that's why Conte came out and almost did a little dig and said he's basically not happy still, because our summer window started so well. And I don't want to digress on your podcast, but go. I
love it.
We started off so well this window. We were going nuts. We'd signed 6 players. We were loving it. We've never seen it before. And then we didn't finish the business. We didn't go out and get that number 10 that can be a fluid player coming off the bench. We didn't get that other centre mid. We didn't get that left centre back that's fully committed. Obviously, Longley, but he's on loan. And then some people still questioning right wing back. I mean, there was 3 or 4 more signings we needed to make so we could go, do you know what? We've got a real good chance this season to win silverware, to challenge for the league. I don't believe that. I really don't. I'm sorry. Like, we got halfway there and thought, Levy thought, the fans are happy now. Well, we would have been happy if you completed the project, but unfortunately you haven't. And it's going to become very clear when we start picking up injuries like Højbjerg, we start picking up injuries like Bentancur, and then we're sitting there going, maybe we're bringing Harvey White, actually. It's like, no, we're not going to start bringing in Harvey White because he's not going to be able to compete with like a player like Fabinho or a player like, that's dedicated. It's just ridiculous. It winds me up. It really does.
Right. So that's actually a really good segue, because that's the next talking point, is transfers. Now, one thing I want to say about that, and we'll move on to you, Willie, and then we'll come back to you, James. But like I agree, right? There's part of me that agrees that those that know me know that I'm a massive fencer when it comes to ENIC and Levy, right? You know, I'm against the grain with a lot of these talking points, right? I'm definitely not 100% ENIC out, and I've said that, and I'll keep saying that until something terribly goes wrong. This was the summer where I wanted something to happen, right? And I wanted something to really come across. If I look at any other window, right, and I know what you're saying, James. If I look at any other window and I see that we've signed, 6 players that have come into the team, one which to me doesn't make any sense, right? In a time when it's crucial to get signings in and get good signings in, to get a signing who's gone back on loan, just reminds me of the Sarr thing all over again.
Yeah.
And you know, if I looked at a window and we'd signed 6, 7 players, would I be upset? Fuck no. Like, of course I wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember the time when we signed nobody. And, you know, there was a lot of complaints then. So it really does irritate me when people say that, you know, we haven't done anything in this window. I agree, James. There are places that need to be looked at. If Harry Kane gets injured, it worries me, right? Does Richarlison come in and play there? Does Son come in and play there? Both players that really aren't out and out strikers. But then again, who do you get in that comes in and willing to sit on the bench every week? Winnie, what's your thoughts on? I want to know your thoughts on ENIC and Levy first. I want to wind this chat up.
Yeah, no. So I'm 100% not ENIC out. I think as a football club, I think we are run very well, and I think we need to appreciate that. You know that we could be worse. So I'm 100% not ENIC out. In terms of a transfer window, I allude to the times when, you know, we were signing Louis Saha and Ryan Nelson on a free transfer right at the very end. Do you know what I mean? So I looking on Twitter, I did see quite a few people saying if we'd have signed a couple of people at the start and then left the big ones, let's say a Richarlison, and the likes of those until the very end of the transfer, let's say like transfer deadline day, would we be saying it's a bad transfer window? We wouldn't. It's only because we did our business so early, and you know, typically Tottenham, we expect deals to be done towards the end of the transfer window just to keep it a little bit exciting, and it didn't happen. Like James said, yes, I do think there was a couple of areas that we still need to improve on. And like you said, Luke, the one where we made the transfer and then send them back out on loan. I don't get those kind of transfers. I think the only positive I can take from that is that I think Conte is planning to stay beyond this season because he's brought a player that he's wanting to use. But like, yeah, I think it could. Let's put it in a nutshell. It could have been better. We could have spent more money, but I think we have done. As in terms of a window, I personally think it's been quite a good window.
Well, just out of curiosity, Winnie, what would you rate it out of 10? Because I was sitting there after those 6 signings and going, right, we're on course for like an 8 out of 9 out of 10 window.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here now saying I would probably not give it more than a 7 because I still think there's gaps, and I still think our manager's crying out saying there's still gaps. Clearly,
yeah,
our squad isn't still good enough. And yes, you can't just do that in one window. I understand that argument, but you know, there were some obvious positions where we still needed depth, and yeah, I feel like they were just like, yeah, that's it, job done.
Yeah, no, I personally, I'd probably agree with you. It's probably around about 7, maybe pushing an 8.
But sorry, without cutting you off, Winnie, I'm always doing this. Sorry, but like both of you, like, when have we ever had more than a 7? When have we ever had more than a 4, a 5 in a transfer window?
Point.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, sorry, Winnie, carry on.
No. People to allude to that. People would probably say when we signed Van der Vaart on deadline day, even though that was probably not a great window, just because of the element of it being Van der Vaart on deadline day, that probably bumps the score up. People would probably rate that a 9 out of 10, even though when it really probably wasn't. But yeah, no, I'd probably say about a 7 or 8. Like I say, there were areas we could have improved further, but you know, we were looking at people like Zaha, again, another player I like. The shithousery element of him, but Kulusevski, Kane, and Son, Richarlison in the background. Where does Zaha fit in? He just doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people talked about a creative midfielder, James.
Yeah,
but to me, like, when you're talking about a creative midfielder, which I hate that phrase, where does that fit into Conte's standard lineup? Right, standard lineup is wing backs, 3 at the front, 2 midfield. Okay, you know, 25% of games when he needs to, he'll change it up and play with a creative midfielder, take what maybe Son or Kulusevski off, look at maybe two up top, and then have a creative player behind them. But who comes in? Who else did we look at? Zaniola, like
Maddison.
Yeah. Who's coming in for 60 odd million pound and is going to play 25% of the time? And whilst I agree, we've got cup games, we've got Champions League, we've got everything else. But if we look at the standard formation over the last 20 games, only a couple of times, maybe against Chelsea when he did change it when we were looking to get an equaliser. Did we see a change in formation? Apart from that, we play the same old positions, James. But we did get rid of a lot of players as well, didn't we? It's on loan. Was that a mistake and not bringing anyone in?
Yeah, I'll answer your point about the formation and the number 10 first, because I do completely get it, but I feel like we need that option off the bench. And I get it would only play 25% of the time, but I'm also not requiring us to go and spend 60, 70 million. Of course, in an ideal world, if we were playing Football Manager, I'd go, I want Milinkovic-Savic, I want someone that's going to be an absolute, golden gem signing that's going to really change the play. But you look at Conte's time at Inter Milan, right? His formation at Inter Milan was a 5-2-1-2 with Lukaku and Lisandro Martinez up top, and then you had the number 10 behind as well. And I'm not saying that that's what he definitely wants Spurs to be, because I think he is genuinely happy with Kulusevski, Son and Kane and the three up top. But also, there's got to be some games where you've got to be unpredictable and you've got to be different. And if teams are coming up against us and they know exactly how we play, that's when it becomes stale. You have to have a plan B and you have to have a plan C. And to be honest with you, the fact we don't have a creative midfielder in our team, in our squad, it does concern me a little bit, because we're playing the same direct football where we basically rush it up to the front three to do their stuff. Whereas before, if we had a number 10, I'm not just going to say about Eriksen, because I didn't necessarily want Eriksen, but we had that player that could pull strings left, right and centre and, could pick up the ball in midfield and bring it on. Basuma's probably the closest person we have to that now, but he's much more further back in terms of where he plays. So when you look at it like that, you want something off the bench, and you're going. I'm going to phrase it again. You're looking at the bench and you're going, who could change the game in a creative way? Oh, do you know what? Let's change Lucas Moura from a right winger into a central attacking midfielder. No. Let's put Harvey White on. No. Honestly, guys, think about what we have to do off the bench at the moment. We're still not making full subs because Conte is not happy with it. I mean, one player coming off the bench, Richarlison. Okay, great, fantastic. Change the game. He's looking very bright. But then you look at number 2. I know. Let's bring on Brian Hill. I mean, it's absolute nonsense. Think of it like that, and then ask yourself: did we need another forward player? Not necessarily a striker, but attacking midfielder. Did we need another centre back? Did we need another right wing back? We absolutely did need some more of these players.
Boys, let me stop you. I've literally, I'm on mobile internet here. I've just moved house, but I've been listening. I've had to jump on for 5 minutes. An 8 out of 10 window. What the hell, boys? Right. So a couple of points really quickly, because I ain't got long. It's a 6 out of 10 window. We made some good signings, but we've bought a lot for the future. You Doggy, Spence, etc. Spence doesn't even look like a Conte signing. That was quiet. So I got my kids with me as well. So we literally had one opportunity to really strengthen the squad. We signed Richarlison. 60 million, Luke, you were talking about who's going to come in and play 25% of the games. Richarlison's one of them names, right? So it could have been the same for anybody else. We were crying out for a top-class centre-half. We signed Clement Longley on loan. Everyone thought, we'll get Longley on loan, and then we're going to go and get someone decent, a Bastoni or a Zabani or someone else. We got no one. Levy and Enoch have pulled the wool over our eyes once again. Girls, I'm on the phone, shush. Pulled the wool over our eyes again. There's a £150 million war chest they bang on about, right? They included the signing of Romero, who we signed last summer, in that £150 million war chest. We've done nothing, really. Basuma will be a good signing. Richarlison will be a good signing. You've got Perisic, who's a good signing, but he's 33. You're signing Spence and Udogie for the future, so you have to discount them. Force as a backup keeper. You've got to discount him. Who will we really sign to improve our lineup? It's Richarlison, it's Basuma, it's Perisic. Longley is alone. He's going to go back. We were desperate, and we were still desperate for a centre-half. A proper centre-half who could play left centre-back. We've got Davinson Sanchez coming in, who is an accident waiting to happen at all times. I'm sorry to say, but
10
Enoch
hours of
and
football
Levy,
without conceding a goal.
They pulled a fast. It doesn't matter, but they pulled a fast one over everybody. They pulled the wool over everyone's eyes. Everyone got all excited. Like, we got all this money to spend. We've been outspent by West Ham. We've been outspent by Nottingham Forest. The list goes on and on and on. I think the only team we haven't been outspent by is Leicester, because they bought nobody. That's my 2 cents, boys. But I've got to go. I had to jump on and tell you that. But I'll be back next week. I'll see you soon.
See you later, mate.
Yeah, mate.
Take care, Dave.
Right. Well, James, I saw you smiling during that. Like, talk to me.
To be fair, at the end, I was just laughing because kids are absolutely carnage in the background, jumping on a trampoline or something, or whatever it was. But no, he's kind of more on the slider, like we said about the slider out, Enoch out, Levy out, or whatever. He's much more on the slider towards Enoch out. There's no prizes for guessing that one. But also, like I've been understanding his points. He's kind of been just going a bit more extreme on my points, hasn't he? Which is, we didn't sign enough. We got so far and then we didn't go far enough. It's a case of Tottenham we've heard many times before. And I'm not writing us off this season. I'm not saying we're definitely not winning a trophy. But if you boys were to pinch yourself and be really real, do you think this squad is good enough for the trophies? And maybe you're not too fussed. Maybe you're not one of these fans that is, crying out for a trophy. We must win it. But we could have done more and we could have been nearer to that goal.
Yeah, I think it's sorry to cut in. I think it's the balance of we could have done more and not being happy. I definitely think we could have done more. There's no doubt about it. But there is an element of me that is still satisfied with the business we've done. It's just like kind of a happy medium between the two. But I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm a realist, right? And I want to jump on that point of crying out for a trophy. Jesus fucking Christ. Like, I want a trophy so bad. Even if it's just to shut up every Arsenal fan that is in my DMs all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if it's just, the pals that I know that just their only excuses are, when was your last trophy? Do you know what I mean? Like, just to get rid of that. Like, I'm crying out for one. Of course I am. But I'm a realist in, like, how long this takes, right? It may be, looking at Conte's press conference, like going into the Fulham game, it may be that he has had a meeting with Levy and Paratici and others and said, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't exactly what I needed to get us somewhere. The crucial thing will be come the end of the season to see what happens with Conte's contract, because it runs out in the summer. So
can I just quickly pick up on one point that Dave came in and made there? Is one of the biggest concerns in our whole squad and team is, let me ask you guys, let me do a scenario for you, both of you guys. So say we get into a situation where we're challenging for top 4 again, we're near the Champions League places, and Dyer and Romero get injured, right? Who is your back 3, and are you covering your eyes throughout the whole game for whoever you line up?
100%. But then I'm going to flip this on its head. If I see, like I did against Chelsea, with Romero with the bit between his teeth and the only thing he wants to do is smash Havertz, I'm covering my eyes during those moments again.
I love it though. I absolutely love it because we need that in London derbies. We're too frail at times. We need someone to smash them and absolutely get in their heads. And at the end of the day, remember Diego Costa? Everyone absolutely hated him unless you're a Chelsea fan, right? But you know what he was good at? Winding up the centre-backs, getting them carded, getting them on a knife edge where they could potentially get sent off. It was brilliant. He used to go around pulling their hair. He used to go around tripping them up. That's what you need in a team. We used to have a Lamella who was a little bit like that. Now we've got a bit of Richarlison and Romero. It's quality. And yes, we're very close to getting red cards and stuff like that. But has Romero got a red card yet? I think he's got one in the Europa Conference League, and that's it. So when you put it like that, he knows what he's doing. He's very clever, and he winds up the opposition, and that's exactly what we need. But going back to my point, I'll answer the question. We're going to have to play Davinson Sanchez, and we're going to have to play Tanganga or who else? I don't even know. Like, we got rid of Rodon, so who's right centre back? I mean,
I agree. Winnie, what's your thoughts? Like, Davinson Sanchez, as Dave said, I joked about 10 hours of not conceding. That's not down to him.
No. But it is true. It is true. That's the problem. That's the problem. There's stats to back things up, and if you look at that long without conceding a goal with Davinson Sanchez, it means he hasn't made an obvious error in that time, which we look at Davinson Sanchez as a player, athleticism, fantastic. He's quick, he's got everything, but he just switches off and he makes mistakes, and that's his biggest problem. But to have that many hours without conceding a goal with Davinson Sanchez in the team is a success. But yeah, no, alluding to what James said, it would be it would have to play Tanganga, people like that, Longley, Ben Davies. There would be no rock. So I totally understand what you're saying. We like someone like Zabani. I would have liked, and obviously Bastoni. That was the big one. I would have loved Bastoni, but it just wasn't the right time for him.
Yeah.
If we got a Bastoni and a creative midfielder this window on top of what we got, I'd be sitting there going 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10,
Yeah.
right? But because we've got so far yet, well, what's the word? Because we've got so far yet, what am I trying to say? But not far enough.
Yeah.
Then we're sitting here like Davies and saying 5 or 6. Or we're sitting here like me, 6 or 7. I mean, you guys may be slightly higher, but maybe time will tell on how successful the window is. Because also in January, we were saying 6 out of 10 window when we signed just Bentinko and Kulusevski. It turned out to be 2 absolutely pivotal players in this team. So time will tell as well. But one point to make on Davinson Sanchez. I'm not one of these Davinson Sanchez haters, but I also don't think he's great. Yeah. But the thing to mention about this stat about 10 hours without conceding and stuff like that, cool. But have you seen the guy try and play out of defence, right? You look at Wednesday night, that's when you cover your eyes. He's got the ball, he's bringing it forward, and then he boots it out of play, he boots it back to a player, or he does the most stupid pass where it bobbles across the turf. Like, I got taught when I was about 7 how to pass the ball clean on the floor. This guy, I've never seen a professional footballer pass the ball and the ball comes bouncing off the turf like it's bunny rabbits coming out of the ground. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Just pass it. He cannot pass. He's just there to defend and defend only. And like you said, at times he switches off. We need a player that's like Romero who can bring the ball forward. He's confident. Even Ben Davies can do it sometimes. But Davinson Sanchez worries me because I know there's a mistake in him. We all know it. If you're honest with yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely. But then why, Winnie, why was the tactic on Wednesday night? The tactic always was playing the ball out of Davinson Sanchez. It was Larissa Sanchez. It rarely ever was, Sanchez to Dyer, who, going back in the day, came into us as a defensive midfielder, changed to a right back, then changed to a centre back. He has that ability to run out of defence with the ball. He has that ability to drive forward. Okay, he's not as good as someone like Christian Romero, but for some reason, that tactic on Wednesday night was always pass the ball to Davinson Sanchez.
Maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe in training Sanchez is doing this week in, week out. We don't know.
Like Kane on free kicks. Maybe bits in training.
He's definitely not doing that, Winnie. I'll tell you that.
I totally agree, mate. I totally agree. It's just the way Conte wants to play, and I think maybe it's a criticism of him. Regardless of what resources he has, he will still try and play the same way. And you got to respect that, but like you say, Davinson Sanchez is not good enough. He's not that player. But like you say, we didn't get the players in we need. So unfortunately, we're going to have to sit there for, hopefully not for too much longer, sitting there watching Davinson Sanchez try and do it.
It's like trying to teach a cat. It's like trying to teach a cat dog tricks. I mean, you're going to sit there and it's just not going to work, right? It's just
sometimes you'll get success, sometimes you won't.
Exactly. Yeah. Like maybe the cat will do a pirouette, but maybe he'll start, jumping on the furniture. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous.
I think what worries me is when we've got Sanchez and Emerson Royale on the same side. Yeah. That's what concerns me, I think. And that if they were opposite sides of the pitch, it might.
And that's why it doesn't make any sense that was the tactic to play it always to that right hand side when you've got Perisic and Ben Davies on the other side, or you've got Emerson Royale or Davinson Sanchez on the other side. Like, blows my mind. But anyway, let's jump onto today's game before I keep you boys any longer. It's a big game. It's always a big game, isn't it? Like,
of course.
Start with you, Winnie. Like, what's your thoughts leading up to the Fulham game? Are you excited, expecting a win? And do you expect to see Romero back and Son dropped? Is what I envisage might happen today.
Romero back, yes, 100%. If he wants to play and he's been past fit, and if he's in the squad, he's fit. That's my opinion. Get him in, and we'll be much more progressive. From defence to attack. I'm a huge fan of Heung-min Son, huge fan. But I think this season in particular, he has been so poor compared to his usual standards. For whatever reason, we don't know. But yeah, let's get Richarlison in there. He's chomping at the bit to get in. You can see he's coming on with 15 minutes to go. He's changing games. Let's get him in from the start. I am expecting a win. We shouldn't be losing to teams. No disrespect to Fulham, but we shouldn't be losing to teams like Fulham at home. It just shouldn't be happening if we want to be a serious team. But I think if we keep Mitrovic quiet, because I think Mitrovic will be a bit of a handful. If we keep him quiet, I think that's the key to today. No disrespect again to the rest of their players, but if we keep Mitrovic quiet, I think that's the key to today.
Definitely, James. And that battle, that's why I all morning, like before I came on this show, I was out walking my dog, and all I could think about was Christian Romero and Mitrovic. And I'm just excited just by watching that.
It's gonna be winding each other up all game if Romero plays like Winnie said. But I mean Fulham, I think they're actually a bit of a team that may surprise a few people this year, because I think everyone's writing off Bournemouth, and I completely agree. They're absolute pony. I think they might even get like the second worst points tally ever in the Premier League. They're absolutely shocking. And to sack Scott Parker, you need to give me another half an hour to talk about that, because that's an absolute ridiculous decision as well. But in terms of Fulham, I think yes, Mitrovic is their key threat, of course, and I 100% agree. 41 goals in 42 games in the Championship last season cannot be taken lightly. But I do think they have some decent players, and they've made some decent signings. You look at Leno in goal, actually a very good signing. You look at some of their options, centre backs. Yeah, they're still a bit fragile, but they've also got some decent midfield players in there, and they've signed some geezer from Wolfsburg, Babu or something. So I don't know how key he's going to be, but they've signed some players that have played in the Champions League, believe it or not. So listen, Fulham aren't this team that's come out in like a Bournemouth where they haven't really done a lot in the window, and I think they have made some decent signings. They've signed that Paulina from Sporting Lisbon, another decent player. And they've also obviously signed Carlos Vinicius yesterday.
Didn't they also get Willian and also Dan James?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So I think they've got a bit of Premier League experience. They're starting to obviously bed them in, but maybe Willian will come back and haunt us. I don't know if he's available. I mean, the guy goes way back, like to when he was actually good. Obviously, he did nothing against Arsenal. I say he goes way back. His hairline's gone way back as well. It's absolutely ridiculous. But in all seriousness, I think Fulham a decent team. But if we're playing as bad as we have been, I think we could concede. I say we could concede, of course. Thanks, Michael Owen. But I think we will concede if we play that bad, because we're looking fragile, especially if Romero doesn't play. I do think they'll score, but I don't know if I did score predictions yet. We'll wait till that. But yeah, I think Fulham, don't take them too lightly.
That's mate. All you're doing is just segue after segue in this show. That's what
I've done it for a few years.
yeah, that's it. Exactly. That's what we're moving on to now. Maybe I need to be less predictable. But Winnie, first time debut on the show.
Yeah.
Give me a score prediction for today.
I'm gonna go. I think we have to give Fulham a goal. Like you say, they've got a couple of threats. I think Mitrovic will probably score. But again, I would like to think we've got a bit too much for them. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win.
2-1.
Yes. I know.
And James, want to know your thoughts quickly on this comment here. I'd like to see Jed Spence get a chance today. Emerson Royal not creating on that side. Do you think that Conte he won't play Jed Spence at the moment unless it's like it was against Forest where the game was won and he came on a lot more in an attacking position? What are your thoughts quickly on that?
Yeah, I have this debate many times on my channel. I just think Jed Spence is a player. We've heard numerous times in the press conferences that he's a Tottenham signing, not a Conte signing. Conte wasn't the one that pushed this one forward, which is interesting. And Conte's come out a number of times and said, this is very much a club signing, almost hinting that he's not going to be under his wing straight away. And he's also mentioned that there's a big transition from being a good player in the Championship to a player that's ready physically and mentally for the Premier League. And I do understand that. Conte knows his stuff, of course. We're not going to doubt him. But I wouldn't start Spence today. I would actually start Doherty over Spence, like in that order. I think Emerson, he's been all right recently. He's probably one of our best players on Wednesday, to be honest with you. He gets so much hate. He gets so much stick. and I'm one of the ones that gives him that stick. Don't you worry about that. But to be honest with you, recently he has been decent. He has been fairly decent. So I'd keep it the way it is at the right wing back. And I don't think Jed Spence is going to get proper game time until the cup games, maybe like the Carabao Cup. Obviously, we've got Nottingham Forest third round, so maybe that's the perfect opportunity, right?
Yeah. What about, sorry, last question. Do you think Son should be dropped for Richarlison today?
Oh, see, I say it's difficult, but most people are saying putting Richarlison, right? But
I think it's worth a go.
Yeah, exactly. I probably would, to be honest with you. Son looks burnt out mentally. He came off. He was almost looking like Dele Alli having a sulk on the bench. And he looks burnt out mentally. And I think, do you know what a lot of it is? Obviously, we did that pre-season in South Korea. He was doing all the photo shoots, doing all the press stuff. Obviously, he was playing all the minutes to keep the fans happy. He's probably not got too much of a summer break, to be honest with you. The guy is workhorse, isn't he? Like off the camera, on the camera. And listen, he looks burnt out mentally, physically. I don't know. He just doesn't seem as quick as normal as well. I would give him a break today. I would maybe bring him on in the 70, depending on how the game's going. Put Richarlison in and keep the rest of the team the same, unless of course Romero can play. He just, but people are quick to get on people's back, aren't they? Five games
definitely.
in, people started saying Son's lost it. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. You've lost your head. You've lost your mind if you think Son's lost it. I mean,
look at previous seasons, right? There's always been a period where Heung-min Son hasn't performed over a number of games, but come the end of the season, he always has 15 plus goals, and that's the kind of player that we need. Anyway, jump in with your
January and February. He stopped scoring. It was against Man United away, Brighton away, someone else at home. People going, drop Son, let's play Lucas, right? Or whatever it was, right? And Son then scored 5 goals in 3 games, and people were like, oh, Son, he's our hero. Like, piss off. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, definitely. What's your score prediction for today?
I'm going for a 3-1, one more than Winnie. I think that it should be comfortable in the end. We'll probably play bad in the first half like we do every single game.
Yeah.
Fulham will get a goal. We'll start panicking. The atmosphere will get a bit tense. And then Harry Kane will score. I think Richarlison will score if he starts. And I'm going to throw a random one in there, guys. I'm going to throw a Højbjerg goal in there for 3-1.
Oh, his second goal of the season. Lovely.
Nice.
He scored a few goals last season, which people, again, are quick to forget about as well. So there you go.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm gonna go against you guys. I'm gonna go
2-1 Fulham.
Yeah. No, I think do you know what? I'm gonna go for a clean sheet. I think Romero will be back. I think Richarlison might start, and I'm gonna say 3-0. But that's the optimist in me. Right. Well, that pretty much gets us to the end of the show. I really appreciate everyone coming on. James, we'll start with you. Go around the table. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and you're always welcome back on the channel. But let everyone know how they can find you and how they can look at all your really good content.
No, of course, mate. Thanks for inviting me on. I appreciate you guys getting me on, and it seems like a great podcast. You've got a few people that got their opinions in the chat that stick to it. Obviously, Dave was so fuming he came on. Love that. But I mean, if I had some of the people that got irate in the chat,
so Dave actually is my co-host. He's just normally on, so that's why.
Yeah, got you. I mean, if I got some of the people in my chat that were like, "Oh, you're talking rubbish," and stuff, fantastic. I might start doing it.
We love carnage on this channel.
Channel would soon get shut down probably, but no, you can find me over at Spurs Related. Some people may know us from Instagram. We've got, I think, 66,000 followers there. Nice. But the YouTube's the one we're trying to push. We've got, I think, 1.3k, but we're really trying to push YouTube, the previews, the reviews, a bit like what you guys do. But also we do like fun little things as well, like Spurs quizzes, trivia nights. We've also got vlogs. A lot of our guys go to the games as well, do little vlogs. So yeah, get over to Spurs Related if you want to. And more importantly, smash the like on this video, smash the subscribe button if you're watching, support this podcast, because I love supporting all the podcasts in the Spurs community. I go on quite a few different ones, and just keep supporting, guys. People want to do this as part-time jobs, full-time jobs. So help these guys out as well, more important.
Mate, really appreciate it. And you came personally recommended from my good friend Holly. So
okay.
Yeah, really appreciate that. And as you said, regardless of how many followers everyone has, we all really appreciate the support. So if you have enjoyed what James has said, make sure you go and check out their channel, and also give them some more followers on Instagram as well. Winnie, you're new to the channel. First
Yes.
show. How did you find it? First podcast, I think, actually.
This is completely new for me. The whole podcast YouTube scene. It's something I've always wanted to look into. So, thank you very much for inviting me on. But it's just a bit of fun. Thoroughly enjoyed it. If you can't sit down and talk about Spurs, what else can you do? Do you know what I mean? We've all got a big common interest here, and that's Spurs. So, but yeah, no, Thank you very much, mate.
What's your Twitter handle? People want to follow you on Twitter.
It is Winnie1991. A couple of Spurs views on there, not too much, but hopefully, if I can do a couple more things like this, maybe I might be able to grow my Twitter a little bit more as well. So,
mate, you're more than welcome to come back any week.
Thank you very much.
I can't believe that was your first podcast. I thought you've been doing it for months and years. Like you're a natural.
Genuinely, my first time, mate. So appreciate the feedback. I love it. But hopefully a couple more, and I'll be even more into the swing of it.
Keep doing it, mate. You're doing well. It was appreciate really good debut. I can't believe that. Keep up, man. Keep up.
And if you want to follow me, you can follow me, Luke_Park Lane on Twitter, or just follow Park Lane Pod on Twitter and Instagram. We're trying to grow all the areas. We have had a bit of a change up recently in terms of the channel. Obviously, we've now just pushed it to Spurs only channel, so we're really looking to push those subscribers. If you like the channel, it's free. As I said at the start, it's free to subscribe. We really do appreciate your support. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Park Lane Podcast on YouTube, and we'll see you next week, Saturday morning, 11 a.m. So thank you all very much for joining. Have a good day, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.